Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. You know, a couple of days ago I posted a video about Fani Willis and her current legal issues. I was annoyed, though not surprised at all, to find that the same contingent of clowns, no doubt the shea butter corner of Twitter, people who I never hear from at any other time, apparently they got angry at me because I had some rather pointed comments about Fani Willis. These are the same kind of people who apparently look at folks like Fani as being personal avatars for themselves. Well, let me go ahead and make you really hot under the collar here. I don't judge people by the company they keep, though I do recognize that the apple don't fall far from the tree. You have people who are saying, well, she was going after some of these little thugs out there, etc., etc. Do you hear me complaining about that? What I'm talking about is who she's not going after. People don't listen mainly because of the fact that they can't defend their position. But my problems with Fani Willis go way beyond just simply the fact that she always conveniently seems to be giving certain folks a pass while making sure that most of the high-profile prosecutions she carries out are going to be black folks. She'll go ahead and put on a show for that one. Fani Willis's father is quite a problem for me. Now, this guy was a lawyer, and he was the one who guided her into the profession too, so he was grooming her to basically go into what I guess he thinks of as the family business. The guy's a lawyer. No disrespect to the B1 faithful who may have passed the bar, but I recently did a video about the untalented 10th, and I explained how you gotta watch these black lawyer types because they took an oath to the law, not to black empowerment. Now, I'm not saying that all black people with a law degree are on the bull crap, but just like Negroes who go to work in law enforcement, or go into the military, or go to work for the government, or take some sort of public office, when someone takes an oath to an institution of white power, and they look at this institution as the mountain that they're going to climb to improve their station in life, and when that institution pays them, and they actually start to think to themselves that they're on the inside now, looking out, or at the very least, they feel like being in these places gives them knowledge about the world that the rest of the rank-and-file black folks just don't have, that's a problem. Obviously, I'm not saying that all black people who may have gone into government service or into the military, law enforcement, or gone ahead and taken the bar, that all of them have split loyalties. No, but what I'm saying is we've had more than enough examples by now where we ought to be able to recognize that the potential is definitely there because we see it so much. These Negroes who take these oaths, they're the main ones who will try to argue you down that white supremacy ain't the real problem, and that these institutions that we complain about, they're not as bad as we keep making them out to be. That's just a fact. There's a reason that we keep having the same problems from the same people. I say that because some of the sour Negroes who were whining in my comment section, they could stand to go back and re-watch my untalented 10th video. Hell, they'd be doing great to have watched it at all. Also, as I mentioned, and the Fani Willis fan club was just too busy worshiping her musty drawers to notice, her father was allegedly in the Black Panthers. Now, did you see the white media tearing him and her by extension limb from limb over that fact? Did you see them trying to denigrate her by extension by that? No. Now you got these white media outlets who say that Fani Willis's father was actually part of a faction of the Black Panthers. Now, isn't it interesting that they would use that wording? He joined a faction of the Black Panther movement, not the actual Panthers themselves. Isn't that a little bit odd to you? And his having been a Black Panther, that is 3 red flags for me. Not that there's anything wrong with the Black Panthers, but don't you remember? The Black Panthers were absolutely infested with agents and turncoats and people who were working for the FBI. They had all kinds of informants all over them. That's part of what tore the Black Panthers apart. You had a few folks in there who were real soldiers and the rest of them who were on the take. And when talking about Fani Willis's father's membership in the Black Panthers, they tend to use rather strange wording about it. And that's also something that makes my ears perk up. You see, we had a lot of Negroes who were in the Black Panthers or were otherwise somewhere hovering around the Black Panthers' orbit, and a lot of these Negroes broke bad on us. Clarence Thomas, you'll recall, about the same time that Fani Willis's father was in college, so was Clarence Thomas, and he was affiliated with the Black Panthers. He wasn't a member of the Black Panthers. He was affiliated with them. Well, I think we all know whatever became of Clarence Thomas, don't we? And let's not forget Bobby Rush. That guy actually was a Black Panther, and a notable one back in the day, and we all see what became of him. Now, in the case of Fani Willis's father, what had happened was he was not part of the Black Panthers per se, but he wanted to try to start his own political party with the Black Panthers name.
So then Babu and I, Ayuko Babu, the founder of the Pan-African Film Festival, he and I sat down and we must have talked 8 hours about maybe we ought to start our own just black political party. And that's what we started. We started the Black Panther. I had, by the way, prior to that time, I had been down in Alabama and I had worked with the Lowndes County Free Organization, which later became the Black Panther. Everybody started calling it the Black Panther Party. That's really the original Black Panther Party, is the Lowndes County, Louisiana party. Anyway, so we decided that we were going to start our own political party.
What year is this?
66.
Okay.
We didn't know at the time, nor had we ever heard of Huey Newton, Bobby Seale, or the Black Panther Party for self-defense. But then when Huey went to jail and they started the Free Huey movement, Eldridge Cleaver took over the Black Panther Party, even though it should have been Bobby Seale. Eldridge Cleaver said that we either had to join them, which we had no intentions of doing, or we had to change our name to the Pink Pussycat something or something. You see, something insulting.
Did you get all that? So apparently it wasn't Huey Newton and the boys who started the Black Panther Party. Why, it was John Floyd and his buddies. They were the ones who started the real Black Panther Party. They started the first one. They were the originals. Those guys out on the West Coast, why, they came along later, and to hear John Floyd tell it, hell, they hadn't even heard of Huey Newton at the time. They hadn't even heard of Bobby Seale at the time. You know, the people who we're all familiar with. So while John Floyd and his buddies were down in Alabama, or was it Louisiana, his story kind of changed, starting the original Black Panther Party, Huey Newton and the boys, they were just sitting back waiting for John Floyd and the guys to light the golden path and to show them the way. Right? So that's how much love he had for the Black Panthers. That's how much dedication that he had to the movement. See, this is a fact about the 60s and 70s that a lot of black folks just don't like to be confronted by. We've had the white media indoctrinate us for 50 and 60 years, telling us that all of these folks, all these Negroes that you saw out there, they were all on the side of the angels, when the reality is only a handful of them were. And whether it was the civil rights movement or the Black Power movement, you had a bunch of opportunistic Negroes in both of those movements who made it a point that they were going to use the other black people around them as nothing more than a springboard to a life of comfort and wealth for themselves. They were going to use all these other black folks around them as their power base. And that's exactly what a hell of a lot of them did. So it didn't matter if you had some Negro in the civil rights movement saying, I spill blood in Selma, now go vote for me as I run for Congress. Or if you had some Negroes saying, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get tough on all of these little crackers over here. Y'all go ahead and y'all support my little political party. More often than not, these Negroes who you saw who couldn't wait to jump in front of the cameras and couldn't wait to be beating their chest and trying to get the most attention, they almost always immediately pivoted to show you that they were just trying to build a power base for themselves. And we still see it today. D. Ray McKesson certainly comes to mind. So you see, when I look at Fani Willis, I do judge her by the family tree that she's connected to, because it matters. This is the father that got her interested in law in the first place, and he was acting as the battery in her back to be pushing her into public office. Don't you think that that's probably not just a coincidence? Maybe he was doing it for a reason? When somebody comes up and says, I was a Black Panther, I met Huey Newton, I'm like, oh, so you were the one who sold him out. You were the FBI informant who said, yeah, this is how you can go ahead and get this nigga. That's what I hear whenever you got one of these old fools who come around talking about that they were in the Black Panthers or they were affiliated with them. Oh, they was taking part in demonstrations back in the day. See, we were serious about it back in the day. All of these guys, they later went on to become part of the very establishment that they were allegedly fighting against. Now, do you seriously believe that people like Fani Willis's father and the John Lewises, and the Negro Jim Clyburns and others, do you think that they taught their kids to do differently? You think they taught them, well, do as I say, not as I do necessarily? Is that what you think happened? Of course not. And this is part of the problem that I got with Fani Willis. And for those of you who've been trying to stick up for her, I wonder if any of you, while you were trying to hide behind empty rhetoric about, well, some of them folks she went up, some of them black folks was dangerous, don't you know? I wonder if you asked yourself what it is that she's standing for. I gotta ask, what has Fani Willis done that these people think is so worthy of them making fools of themselves to stick up for her? She's not exactly our mortal enemy or anything like that, but you know full well she's just playing the game. Just like Kamala Harris. She also mixed bedroom politics with her electoral politics. The only difference is 30 years ago, Kamala Harris was the female subordinate, sleeping with a male who was over her to get ahead. And now apparently Fani Willis is able to be romantic with male subordinates as a perk of her job, allegedly. But again, I'm waiting for the Fani Willis fan club to explain to us all what makes her so honorable. Why it is that we need to be putting on the cape for her. Why it is we need to be going ahead and helping to rehabilitate her image. And sure, of course, there's the usual plants and agents and people online who just don't think very deeply. But the point is, black people supporting and revering people based on who their parents or their uncles or relations are, or because the white media tells you, oh, this is a black person who's in a position of power. Falling for that con game is one of our biggest dysfunctional issues. I'm not saying that we should support what these good old boys in Georgia are trying to do. All of them are only interested in themselves. None of them are doing anything they think is going to benefit us. This is the same kind of brinksmanship and the kind of chess games that these people play amongst themselves. And that being the case, no, we should not be taking sides at all in this. We can go ahead and call out the fact that Fani Willis was a self-interested bureaucrat. We can call that out without saying, oh, but these good old boys over here, they're on the side of the angels. They got every right to be. No, we recognize the reality of what's going on. What a shame that a number of people who let their Twitter fingers run wild didn't stop to look at this first. I'm not saying that we should be supporting any sort of legal action against Fani Willis. What I am saying is we should support her in the exact same way that she has always supported us. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Matthew Liggins, Tyrone Leak, Gilda Dallas, Zachary Jenkins, and Antithesis. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.